Hello, everyone. This is the Armchair Warlord, and we are live right now with Farv and Josh. Josh, you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I run the channel called Farvithian Guard. Just got a book out on Amazon. I'm working on the second one. I'm former first Cav and a long time ago 234th Armor for a very brief period of time.
Yeah, so
go ahead, Josh. No, go ahead. It's cool.
I was actually going to ask Farv. So just for the because I think we have a bunch of new viewers here. So what did you do when you were in the Army?
Well, the first time I was on a tank crew. I started at the loader and then got promoted, quote unquote, to the driver, which I liked better anyway, on the old M1 tanks. And then in Cav, we were running the ammunition, which, as a lot of people will mistakenly assume, means you're not doing shit but handing out ammo. No, we got involved in convoys. We had to handle distribution and security for pretty much all the fucking ammunition, especially when we were in Iraq. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, fuck that.
So that was when you were deployed?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was when I was with the Cav.
Gotcha. And Josh, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Mr. Nobody, named after an Irish gangster. I often been on Farvifia's channel, and I'm a shooting enthusiast, and I've been around the military for roughly about 30 years. So, let's talk about this new rifle.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the U.S. Army's newest excellent decision out of the Acquisition Corps. The U.S. Army's new family of small arms, because it's not just the XM5, it's the XM250 light machine gun. This thing here and optics and this and the new jauntily named SIG 277 Fury round, the most which we'll get into that.
Christ.
Which let me see if I can put a better picture of this, because the way this thing is constructed is crazy.
Yeah, and anything we say, I'm pretty sure if SIG notices, they will immediately, repeatedly say, it's on our website.
Probably.
It won't be there for you to actually purchase.
Before we get into the guts of this fucking thing, I think we should briefly discuss the new Army.
Oh, no.
Sure, go ahead. What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is the new Army is, and I have no real negative opinion about this, mind you, as long as they make it work. But the new Army is taking a lot of recruits in who are from very different backgrounds than even 10, 20 years ago. It's taken in a lot of people who have no experience with weapons or rifles or pistols even. It's bringing a lot of women more into the forefront of roles that were traditionally considered men's roles or in combat arms positions. Now, the reason I find there's a bit of a hitch with this is we are now introducing a new standard issue infantry rifle, which is much heavier. It's using a large round with considerably more kick. It's bulkier and is going to require considerably more control from the user.
Yeah. And also, so let's just sort of go into what this thing technically is, and then what I think the thought process going into it was, and then what the results of this are actually going to be. Pitman789 says, "What in God's name?" Yeah, this is a very cringe recruiting video the Army put out a little while ago that was widely roasted.
And then the recruiting numbers went down.
Yeah, I mean, the Army's having trouble recruiting right now. They're low on. They're paying out crazy bonuses, and they're still not hitting targets.
Their training has also just plummeted, just universally.
Yeah, I've heard they like made basic training even easier than it had been, and apparently, like they got a trainee on video saying it was easy.
Yeah, I watch a YouTube channel called Angry Cops, which is run by a drill sergeant. And he had a video where he was critiquing the new Day One Red Phase thing.
Yeah.
Where we previously had what was called, the shark attack. That's when the drill sergeants would arrive and descend upon your recruit ass and drag you through everything forcefully.
Yeah.
What we have now is this weird fucking like corporate camp out team building exercise shit.
Yeah, that's like you join the army, you expect what you're going into. I don't know why they keep on trying to make this shit easier, because people don't want it. Recruits don't want it. Soldiers don't want it.
They had a green recruit in the video that the drill sergeant from Angry Cops was showing. They take him in front of the sergeant major, and this guy is either too honest, too dumb, or just not realizing what this is about, because it's the sergeant major who's responsible for this change.
Yeah.
And they take him up and they ask him what he thought of the training. And without missing a beat, this young new recruit, not even a full private yet, is like, I thought it would be more difficult.
Oh God. Yeah, that's not what you want to know. That's not good. But anyway, we're here to talk about the guns. So what, about a month ago this came out? The Army made because the Army had been running a program previously called the Next Generation Squad Weapon Program.
Yep. Which
had all kinds of weird. These were all the competitors for it, which some of these things look pretty wacky. So, and what the Army did, what I think anybody could have predicted they did, which was they chose the most boring and conventional option, which was the stuff that 6 Hour was offering.
Well, they offered the most boring conventional option that promised them the biggest payback.
That's probably quite accurate.
Knowing our quartermaster's core, I guarantee it had something to do with that too.
Yeah, there's probably going to be some people on the 6 Hour board some people on the 6 Hour board after this making a lot of money. But
it's also
it also was. Go ahead.
And also a usual trick of the Army to try to do these runs, overestimate what they're going to do, and just use it to get the budget kicked up.
Oh God!
Because let's see, they're having to develop 2 versions of it and an optics system, because the old optics system won't run on it.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the optics going forward here. Hasheria says, "Why always that brown dust cover?" It's because we've been fighting in the desert for the last 20 years, and somebody eventually figured out maybe we should not have black guns anymore. So now we're making them brown. So this is it's like a return to tradition, because our guns used to be brown because they used to be made out of wood.
Yeah. Or at least partially brown, but still.
Yeah. So in any event, so they chose the most. They were also competing for ammunition, because these other options had different, basically like different. It was all the same cartridge. It was all like the same performance out of the cartridge, but they had different ammunition technologies in them. Like,
yeah.
I think General Dynamics had like a plastic case, and Textron had like a case telescopic thing, which would just look like a battery. It sort of had, yeah. It's accurate. But so what ended up happening was the boring conventional one went out, which was 6 Hour, which is it's a very AR look. Here, I'll put up a better picture of this.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was based on the 416.
Yeah, it looks very much based on the HK 416, which the military likes, because apparently direct impingement isn't fashionable anymore.
Someone is like obsessed with the AR-15 M16 design.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess this is finally a break with Heckler and Koch.
Yeah.
Well, we went back to straight magazines, so there's that. I guess
the Army's been trying to buy an H&K gun for our next generation weapons for literally the last 40 years, and we finally gave up on it.
Yeah, apparently, because then we've gone to SIG.
But
oh God, help me!
So this here is it's basically a HK 416-esque piston AR setup. I'm pretty sure because HK can't really patent a piston AR. It's a fairly and it's a firing 277 SIG, and there's both a rifle and there's a machine gun variant too, which we'll talk about later. So, and 277 SIG, just to start off here with the actual issue with this thing, it's not even the gun necessarily. I mean, the HK416 is a perfectly serviceable rifle. Hey, Charles. It's the ammunition. So it's this stuff. 277, they call it SIG Fury. Now, for a long time, the Army's been talking about, well, we need some kind of intermediate round between 5.56 and 7.62 NATO. Just sort of out of the realization that like 5.56 isn't quite chonky enough to get the job done in a lot of circumstances, and 7.62 NATO was originally designed in the 1950s as a way to shorten the 3.06 cartridge, and that's about the only thing it did. So it kicks like a damn mule.
Pittman 789. My personal opinion is that innovation costs money.
Yeah, and
I
innovation
that's really the root of it.
Well, I'll tell you what I think the issue is in a minute here, which is I think this is the Army marksmanship cult taking advantage of the experience in Afghanistan to like get their preferred rifle implemented, no matter that if it makes tactical sense in any other situation.
And the
or even in
problem
Afghanistan.
The problem with that, which is the same problem I had with the M16 when I was active duty, was the fact that marksmanship is great when you're issuing it to marksmen, but you need a bulk standard rifle that can be used by literally anybody, because you have a lot of guys out there who prior to training have no experience.
Actually, Farb, this is actually interesting because they're not going to general issue this rifle according to what I
fuck really.
They're only giving it to
back on that.
Well, they're only giving it to infantry, Cav Scouts, and sappers.
What the fuck are the cat? Okay.
It sounds like you have thoughts, and I want to hear
them. What the fuck are you issuing? The Cav. Okay.
I think I just melted down far.
So I was in the Cav. Now I wasn't in the front row shit all the time, but I was still in the fucking Cav, and most of our guys were carrying M4s. Or, you usually had like one guy running the 249, the SAW, which is what, everybody else calls it, the squad automatic. What the fuck are you going to issue this to an entire unit of Cav Scouts? I mean, this...
Well...
Like, it's odd enough with the infantry. But okay, you're spending all this money, right? To develop this fucking thing, this big, allegedly multi-purpose fucking platform, and you're not issuing it to your entire fucking group.
Well, yeah, and also, I mean, this is going to create the usual ammunition bottleneck of, well, some people are still going to need 5.56 NATO, and the infantry are going to need... You know what's going to freaking happen? Forward observers, because I used to be in the artillery. Forward observers, they come out of the artillery, they're going to still have M4s using a different goddamn kind of ammo than the infantry guys
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen from a little bit of experience, having been stuck in ammo, is this is going to cause a clusterfuck of issue problems.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have one unit with 3 or 4 different fucking weapons, M4, M16, this fucking thing, the 249. So when they put in an ammo request for a field problem, or even worse, a deployment, you're going to have even more confusion coming from the ammo point. And you're going to have more people trying to play shady shit on their forms to try to get ammunition they're not supposed to have, or they're not supposed to be issued. This is going to be a fucking nightmare logistically.
Yeah. No, it is. Like, I had a hard enough time getting ammunition while I was deployed as is. God.
I have a feeling what would happen is it'd be just like when they had the SCAR for a little while as a thing for the Spec Ops. It'd probably end up being filtered off to Spec Ops for a while, and then the project will slowly die. Because we just renewed our ammo stocks, and we just talked a few more.
Pittman, I would say that's fairly accurate.
Remaining Eastern Bloc NATO countries into switching over to 5.56. So
and now we're switching it out.
And now we're switching over ourselves. And by the way, this is proprietary ammo, right?
Uh-huh.
I guarantee you the only people who can make this stuff is probably SIG's own ammo factory.
Yep.
and then whatever.
And I'll
ones,
tell you a little side story on that. Once upon a time, there was a gun called the 44 Auto Mag,
Yeah.
which they stopped making ammunition for because it was proprietary ammo. So the only way you could get ammo for it is you had to find a gunsmith who knew how to cut down a rifle round a certain way to get ammo for the fucking thing.
Did you have to like cut down 4440 or something for that?
It was fucking ridiculous.
Okay,
and this is kind of bullshit.
And actually,
remember, go ahead.
Actually, speaking of proprietary ammo, you want to know how I can tell this ammo is proprietary?
Have at it.
You notice that little steel butt cap on that thing?
I do.
Is ostensibly because it's high pressure. But here's the thing. You could just make the entire case out of steel, but you couldn't get a patent on that now, could you?
Nope. That's flat out. It's so obvious just looking at the picture. Because ain't nobody else who's ever fired a rifle round seen a fucking bullet that looks like that.
Yeah, that's some shit SIG came up with so they can get a patent on it.
Yep.
Well, it's also the fact that the American government's various branches have had a nasty track record of basically picking a weapon system, going for an exotic round, and then dropping it as soon as the reality of the thing shows up.
Yeah,
everybody else remember 10 millimeter?
Once the logistical...
Oh, God, yeah.
Once the logistical complications come in, then suddenly people grow a fucking brain.
And then they were like, oh, this is too much for our agents, and they had to change it more, and then they eventually just went back to 9.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, and then they realized basically what happened was they just started making better 9mm hollow points, and they just went back to that.
I swear to God, I hope the fuck that the boss, my fucking E6 from my old unit, I hope the fuck he either got out or is knee deep into the drill sergeant trail by now. Because I hope to God he ain't got to fucking deal with this bullshit.
One reason I say this sounds like just a budget trick effectively for the Army is they did this exact same thing when they wanted to replace the M9.
Oh, yeah, and that fell right through the fucking
And then they
floor.
went with some, I don't even remember what the thing they went for, and it has absolutely no advantage over the M9. It was just a budgeting trick.
But let's get back to talking about the ammo here. So, if you so you know how the Army's been trying to get an intermediate cartridge that's actually intermediate between 7.62 NATO and 5.56, and everybody sort of agreed that the sweet spot was something like, I don't know, and people have developed rounds that hit right in the middle of that, and they're great.
Yeah.
But what the Army actually ended up doing with this 277 Fury round, which I think was made to a specification the Army put out, this wasn't just something SIG came up with on their own, is...
You've just been visited by the most peculiar troll I think I've seen in a while.
What's that?
In your chat, you had a person who initially said, "Why are the bullets pointy? Are they real?" And then they come back and they're like, "The bullets would be better if they were completely round." And then they posted a bunch of Z's and went by.
Well, I mean, at least they're a pleasant troll. I can't keep.
Oh, wait a second. That wasn't a troll. That was a musketry fan.
Was it?
Right.
Maybe.
That is true. Yeah, they're
That still is a little bit trolly, though, so I'm still going to call them a troll.
None of you appreciate the art of the reload.
Yeah, you need to be able to fire 3 rounds a minute. Anyways, back on topic. So if you notice the muzzle energy, and I apologize, I'll just read this off here. So you notice the muzzle energy of 7.62 NATO here is 2560 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
And the muzzle energy of, and this is actually cut down from 30-06 Springfield, which muzzle energy was about 2,800 foot-pounds. Well, the 277 Fury has a muzzle energy of 2,700 foot-pounds. What they did was they necked down a 7.62 NATO cartridge and gassed it up to the point where it's now producing the same muzzle energy as 30-06. Like this was a terrible idea in 1950 when everybody knew that we needed an intermediate round in the future, and the Soviets already had an intermediate round with 7.62 by 39. and this is 2022, and we're going back to tradition with the 30-06, except this time it's in a proprietary case that only SIG manufactures.
This is just increasingly convincing me this is just a fluke or just a little thing they're doing for a little budgetary kick, because there's almost nothing they're gaining from it. Yeah, it's a bit of a fatter round. It's probably going to have more effect on target. However, this would basically be a shift from the current philosophy with our main armament to back to the battle rifle.
Yeah, it absolutely is. This is a modern battle rifle, and this what this round does is as near as I can tell, it's actually a great machine gun round because it just keeps going supersonic forever, and it can penetrate very well at very long distance.
Lucky number asked about 6.5 Grendel.
That got sort of pushed a while ago, a few years back, and then it quickly died away.
It would have
honestly, I think because it's not. I think with 6.5 Grendel the case is very straight, so it's not good at all in any kind of automatic weapon.
Yeah, true. We do need to cover the whole thing, the issue with this, where they're trying to push this as an automatic, because that's a separate issue also.
Yeah, so they've also so this isn't just a rifle program. And by the way, if we can finish talking about this rifle here quick, and then we'll transition to the machine gun because that thing's got issues too. So not only is this a battle rifle, and they won't even disclose how much it weighs, which tells me this thing weighs like 10 pounds without anything attached to it.
Oh god!
I guarantee you, with all the crap they have hung on this thing.
God.
And by the way, this setup they have here is I guarantee you not everything that they're going to use operationally.
Highly unlikely. And also the other issue is, we're talking the weight of a empty weapon versus a loaded weapon, and these are kind of heavy rounds.
Yeah, these are chonky rounds and chonky magazines. Like this scope here, which, well, first of all, this entire setup here is it's a 2-gun gamer gun setup. You have a variable optic. You have a 45. Oh my god! You want to see cringe? They have 45-degree offset backup irons.
What? Why?
Look at this. I'll zoom in.
I see it, but
I'll zoom in on it for the stream. Look at this. 45-degree offset backup, flip-up backup iron sights.
I see it. Yeah, lucky number. The thing is, they're not releasing the modification, without modification weight. They haven't released any weight statistics yet.
Okay, so those are snag points right off the bat for mounted infantry.
Right.
Yeah. And then we have this giant variable. So this is a 1 to 8 power optic, which uses, by the way, goddamn scope rings.
I see that.
Farv, you. I mean, I was an officer. You were enlisted. Like, can you imagine the armor trying to get this shit set up?
Actually, I was friends with the armorer, and he probably would have had a fucking coronary.
Oh my god, the armor! Like, we're gonna have to put the armorers on. Like, the armorers are gonna have to be sleeping at staff duty.
Oh my!
And by the way, you notice this big giant freaking lever here to change the magnification.
And
That's not
I know we're not talking about the MG yet, but somebody in the comments brought up a good point. It's like the suppressor on the MG. Are you fucking serious?
That's got to be a chonky suppressor. It's going to be working with an MG.
It's the same as on the rifle.
And as he pointed out, he's like, wouldn't an MG just eat that away in like no time?
Probably.
And there's a similar problem with this fucking thing here, because this bitch here, this rifle is full auto.
Okay, here's the weight on it. I finally found it.
You found it.
It is 8.38 pounds empty. It is 9.84 with suppressor.
So that bitch weighs 8 pounds unsuppressed and unloaded.
It's magazine
and by the way,
is about a pound.
So you're adding a pound with the mag. It's 9 pounds with just the magazine.
Also 20 round.
And by the way, this scope is a 2-pound scope.
Christ almighty, that is 11 pounds.
And
approximately.
And by the way, you notice how this is a giant like variable optic with. So you know what this is not going to work with at all? Zero compatibility. Night vision.
Yeah, yeah. Josh and I were talking about that the other night. It's like if you got nods, man, good fucking luck.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to use that scope with nods, which means in 2020 goddamn 2, when everybody in the world has nods, we're gonna have to put a PAC 15 on the front of this thing with a freaking giant IR laser pointer.
And that's just gonna make it heavier.
Yeah, and those things are heavy as hell.
Nobody fucking thought ahead on this fucking thing outside itself at all.
Yeah, this is an expression of of the marksmanship cult, which is basically the cult that's been in the school of thought in the U.S. Army. It's been around since probably about the 1870s. Saying, I'm pretty sure this has been around since right after the Battle of Little Bighorn.
I understand what you're saying, Lucky Number. His comment was, why not make anything similar to a PKM? I owned one personally for 5 years. The thing is 8 kilos unloaded, and good luck making it stop. The PKM is the jack of all trades for an MG. I mean, the fucking thing has been around forever for a standard like machine gun. And I fired one myself. They're fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, the PKM is probably I think it's still the best light machine gun that's ever been made.
I mean, in terms of longevity, durability, just being able to pick the fucking thing up and just fire it without a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So they're expecting to roll this out in 2 years.
Yeah,
Fuck me.
I hope to God they cancel this, because this is a debacle in the making.
I'm not convinced they will, because I honestly think that a lot of this is going into a deal for somebody's wallet.
I wouldn't be surprised, but just to get back to the point I was making here was. So, well, the cult of the marksmanship cult, which every time we get into a major war, the marksmanship cult goes away for a little while because it gets blown out by like the way war actually works, because you're not sitting there all slung up, dialed into your rifle, taking like sniper shots at the enemy.
It's like, look, motherfucker, I like the Sniper Elite games too, but seriously, wake the fuck up.
Yeah, no, like war is mostly a matter of like suppressive fire. So
they look fondly to one exact conflict in World War I and go, if only we could do that.
Well, it's worse than that. Well, lo and behold, we get into a fight in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Where, and by the way, in Afghanistan, some people were complaining because the Taliban would do stuff like take a PKM and set it up like 2 kilometers away from us and dial their like iron sights all the way out on it, like do harassing fire on us at extreme range. And people were complaining.
It's almost like that's what it's for.
Yeah, well, people were complaining like, oh, we can't shoot back at these guys adequately with our M4s. Like, never mind. This is the least dangerous infantry small arms engagement you will ever get into, is extreme range harassing fire. But the marksmanship cult was able to parlay this into, well, we need a rifle that is going to be great for shooting across valleys in Afghanistan.
Christ almighty. And it is so fucking rare you're going to be doing that.
Because when we get to Mars, boys...
and nobody was getting killed in those freaking engagements. Like the engagements in Afghanistan where people actually were getting killed and where like units were actually in genuine trouble were like the Battle of Wanat, the Battle of Kop Keating, where it was like us fighting the Taliban in a bad breath distance.
Yeah,
like full auto. that kind of
fight
stuff.
in a phone booth,
like trying to find the most sturdy fucking thing you can to get behind and hope you hit something.
Yeah, it was very nasty close range engagements with the enemy, not this harassing fire bullshit. Which you deal with that stuff with like mortars.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to play. You're trying to like plink back at them with your M4. Like,
Another issue I see with this is this looks like it would be a barrel muncher.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Yeah,
this ammunition is very, very high pressure.
How often is your poor armor going to have to swap these fucking barrels if you see any routine use?
Roughly every 1,000 rounds.
The lucky number also
80,000 psi chamber pressure. That's
the lucky number. Also asks the question: how many times will you engage with these over 300 meters, and how many soldiers could operate it competently beyond 600?
I'd say, well, if I was going to go into this, it really depends on the conflict, but most conflicts in civilized areas are not going to be long range.
Somebody's echoing.
Might be me. I can put my headphones in.
Okay.
It might be me. I'm still echoing.
I hear echo.
A little bit.
Coming from.
Here, let me adjust my mic real quick.
It's me. It's me.
Oh, it's you. Okay. And Charles Manuel.
Go ahead.
Pimentel says, as to marksmanship, it must be said that's the province of the SOF, the assassin, and the spy. What should the infantrymen know of fighting at such ranges? Their task is to seize and hold ground. Pittman also said, honestly, conventional war is just going to be more and more close-range engagements because as artillery becomes more accurate, you're going to need to close the distance. And yes, F in the chat for the armor is right, Phoenix.
Yeah, well, and this actually ties directly into... Well, so this is a gun which is very much designed for the last war. Well, what's the current war? What are infantry doing in Ukraine right now? It's not trying to snipe each other at 500 meters. They're kicking down doors in urban areas and clearing trenches at 10 meters or closer. It's practically hand to hand.
A lot of the time, yeah.
Yeah. This is the worst possible gun you can have for something like that because it's huge, it's heavy, and and you don't have a lot of ammo.
Yeah, a 20-round magazine, really. I mean, the fuck.
Yeah, and it's practically uncontrollable in full auto because, again, this thing has the recoil of 30-06.
If you're not using the MG variant, good luck. The thing's full auto. It's going to be harder to aim. It's heavier, and you got 10 less rounds than the rifle you had before.
Yeah. Well...
Bobcat says, this isn't even designed for the last war. This is designed for one small part of the Battle of Gettysburg.
Yeah, I mean this rifle seems to be designed with the going in assumption that you're going to be winning whatever firefight you get into to the point where you can actually set up and take really nice shots at the enemy. God. And that just isn't true. But let's also while we're at it, let's also talk about the replacement for the M249, the M250, which is the machine gun version of this thing.
You got the image for that fuck?
Yeah, it's on screen.
Christ almighty. Look at that. Why is the fucking ejector so far forward?
That's a good question. I mean, this thing has a... So this here is the sight someone was talking about in the chat earlier. This is it's a holographic sight with some kind of ballistic computer built into it. And by the way, I really like the 45-degree offset optics on the machine gun. That's really whimsical.
Bobcat, I don't know what the fuck that stock is. I don't know what the fuck this gun is.
Well, so here's the worst thing, right? So you know how this is a very hot round? 80,000 PSI, crazy hot. Not only is this thing running a suppressor, the barrel on this is a fixed barrel machine gun. You can't change the barrel on this.
Oh my God. Why? What the fuck would you do that for?
I don't know if you're...
This would be like running a hog, the M60, anybody who doesn't know the slang, and not being able to swap the fucking barrel.
God, one time I almost welded the barrel on an M249 onto the freaking receiver because we shot too many rounds through it.
Jesus.
And that wasn't very many rounds.
No. And they told us routinely when we were training with the 249, don't hold down a fucking trigger.
Yeah. Because if you shoot like 500 rounds through that thing without changing the barrel, you're not going to be able to get the damn barrel off.
No. You just deadlined that fucking MG.
Yeah. We had to like beat that thing for 10 minutes to get the barrel off of it.
And this is fucking worse. Look at this. What the shit?
This thing is going to run through about one of those bags, and then the barrel's going to start melting off, and it's going to shoot the suppressor off because that's going to start drooping.
Bobcat said, "Is that the site that will announce your position to anyone with $100 worth of InfoSec gear?"
Honestly, the way this thing is built, I wouldn't be surprised if it had Wi-Fi.
Fuck me, man. What? Like the rifle was bad enough, but this is so much fucking worse.
Yeah. Well, now the one nice thing about this is apparently like an 11-pound gun, but it's an 11-pound gun that really can't do the job of a machine gun.
Christ. I don't. Just looking at this thing, I can't formulate thoughts I feel that are appropriate.
Yeah.
To just measure how bad I think this is.
Yeah, it's not super confidence inspiring about the people making these decisions, honestly.
Because I'm sitting here pointing at the image like anybody can see what the fuck I'm doing. The ammo box is too fucking far forward from the trigger housing. Your fucking ejection port over here is the same place, obviously, but like I remember on the 249, you pop the fucking top. You reach down, you unsecure that fucking box, you slap the belt in from the new box, and you shut that shit. This shit is so far forward on the weapon.
Yeah, it looks like the rear portion of the receiver is fixed, and it looks like you have to.
Yeah.
Only the middle part actually swings up. That's gonna be weird to reload.
Like, this is gonna take a pain in the ass to reload in a fucking pinch.
I mean, the 249 is kind of a weird gun itself, but it's not this weird.
The 249 you could adjust to. Spoken from experience, you could adjust to how that went. This is just so awkwardly fucking designed. I don't even.
I don't. Yeah, again, this is like designed for engagements that aren't really that intense, right? Like harassing fire in Afghanistan. This would be perfect. You've got Taliban shooting at you from 1,000 meters. Well, okay, we'll pop a few rounds back at them, and it's not a very intense engagement.
It's like, and if you obsessively needed to have something that could put this many fucking rounds down range, then you needed to have the presence of fucking mind to have the barrel be able to be popped out in the field and replaced.
Yeah. And
there's been years of fucking warfare using light machine guns that should have told you this much.
Well, I mean, this was something people figured out 100 years ago we needed, right? Like the Chatellero M1922 machine gun.
Oh, God. Phoenix said it's the retarded bastard child of the LSAT.
It really is. Like the Chatellero 1922 machine gun. Like, that had issues, and the French knew it had issues at the time because it didn't have a quick change barrel. And all the ones after it had a quick change barrel. Like, this is a 100-year-old issue, and we still have. How can we not figure this out?
Altaf there also brought up the DSHK.
Yeah. I mean, the Dushka's a 50 cal. It's actually a good 50. Although problem is I'm not. Heavy machine guns are not something I know a whole lot about. I'm not sure where it really compares to the M2 as far as being good, beyond that the Dushka has a very well-deserved fearsome reputation.
Red Aethel, I'm going to assume within a couple of bursts that fucking suppressor would be just fucking dead. Yeah, especially with the kind of rounds they're using.
Yeah, like people are saying these suppressors are good for machine gun use, but man, I press F to dad on that one.
Seriously, I don't think those suppressors would last long on a 5.56.
Yeah, let alone on this giant cartridge. Here's the other thing, actually. You know what? I almost bet these things probably need a suppressor. I wonder what the muzzle flash on these things looks like unsuppressed.
Fucking Phoenix.
What's he saying? Oh God, yeah, that's getting painful. Well, I almost wonder what the muzzle flash on these things would look like unsuppressed with that much powder in that cartridge.
Oh my god! Like fucking firing a flare.
Yeah, right. Well,
where's the enemy? Just wait for them to fire.
Yeah, right. And I mean, this whole thing of the U.S. military issuing really marksman-like infantry weapons and really like giant infantry weapons this isn't just confined to the U.S. Army, because the Marines did the same thing recently themselves.
Yeah. Are we talking about the M27?
Yeah, let's go talk about the M27 while we're at it. Because the U.S. Marines quite recently actually decided, actually the issue was their M249s were wearing out, because the Marines never liked the M249 that much, but they adopted it anyways, and then they didn't maintain them properly, so they all started kind of breaking a few years back.
Which, there are some very real issues with maintaining the M249 if you're not routinely maintaining the 249.
Yeah, those guns are kind of finicky, is my understanding.
But we had quite a few of them break down on us in Iraq, so yeah. And if you take care of it, yeah, like any weapon, it'll last longer. But there were still some design issues, and I actually didn't hate the 249, but it had problems.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the deal with the M249 is it seems like it's too there's probably a simpler way to design something to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like, there just seems to be kind of too much crap going on with it. Well, so a little while ago, the U.S. Marine Corps decided, we need to replace our M249s. Instead of, I don't know, developing an actual new light machine gun, they did a very 21st century Marine Corps move and decided we're going to just buy more rifles, except they're going to be a little bit chunkier, and we're going to claim their machine guns.
Oh, God.
So they started replacing their saws with this thing, which is an HK416 piston AR in 5.56. And that's really it. It's just got a heavy barrel, and that's it. That's the only thing special about it. And then they decided, because I guess it's really accurate, because it's a HK416 with a heavy barrel, so it's going to be accurate. They decided we're just going to issue this to all the infantry, replace everything.
Lucky number, I agree with that, by the way.
And we'll just claim that our accuracy makes up for the lack of volume of fire we have. That's like, I can't even go into this thought process beyond, like, this is like the Marine Corps marksmanship cult at work, which is like 5 times worse than the Army marksmanship cult.
Yeah. I mean, considering the whole, subcultural thing with the Marines for a very long time, where every Marine is a rifleman first, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and they shoot at targets at 500 meters to qualify, and then they're, for whatever reason.
Yes, Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix has a good
agree with you.
Is Josh going back on, or is he?
I don't know. I think his fucking mic might have died or something. I gotta see if he's
so lucky number. So who's receiving these XM5s now? We talked about this earlier.
He got stuck to backstage because he had to fix his mic.
Oh, did he? Okay. So, and we talked about this earlier, but the Army has a limited issue plan with this. They're only going to give them to infantry, Cav Scouts, and Sappers.
Yeah.
And
I think he's waiting backstage.
Is he? I don't see him.
It says it kicked him to backstage.
Did it kick him? I don't see him as somebody that can you tell him to jump out and jump back in? I did not see him in the dialogue.
Okay, hold on.
And this is I'm just kind of impressed with the Army's ability to finally get a replacement for the M16 after how long has the Army's been trying to replace the M16 since we damn adopted it?
trying to replace,
Yeah,
while the
failing.
Quartermaster Corps actively sabotages every attempt.
Yeah. Well, because we had the Advanced Combat Rifle Project, which was Star Wars shit and failed, and then we had the OICW project, which was 90s Star Wars shit, and like just look at this. Okay, that's the. Here we go. This was the future of warfare during the 1990s.
Oh God, I remember that fucking thing. Christ, they actually put that thing in a fucking Punisher video game at one point, and the guys in the Stark building were carrying the weird ass things.
Oh my God. Because this was, and then they this sort of hung around for a long time. They split into 2 different weapons.
Yeah.
And then they tried to do the XM8 back in 2005 or so, and then that didn't work. And the
XM8, we all remember that one.
They actually, the grenade launcher version of it, they actually developed, sent to Afghanistan, and then I'll tell you how this thing got canceled. This thing got canceled because Heckler and Koch, because it actually violates the Hague Conventions.
Oh, jeez.
Because it's fires an explosive projectile smaller than 1 inch.
I forgot why that was the fucking.
That's the no shit reason. So Heckler and Koch was making these things for the U.S. Army, asked the U.S. Army for a waiver saying this doesn't violate the Hague Conventions. The Army wouldn't give it to them because it obviously does.
Pittman 789 says, "Call me outdated, but we really need those World War II squad sizes back if we're going to circle jerk the rifle again."
Yeah, we just returned a tradition with the 20-man World War I squad.
Christ.
Yeah, and so this got shut down because it was violating the Hague Convention, which you'd think before how long were we working on this weapon, Favre?
Oh Jesus!
This was a development process.
I don't remember anymore. I think so, because there was talk on and off about a couple of different rifles, and this never went any fucking where.
Yeah. And so this went away, and then the Army reset everything, and they did the LSAT program, which was supposed to be lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me look this up. This was supposed to be a really lightweight. That's the law school admission test. Yeah, this thing, which came out after the XM8 died. Which was supposed to use
is that a rifle or a radar gun?
I don't freaking know. Yeah, so it was supposed to use case telescopic ammunition, kind of like this stuff. It was supposed to be very light. And
again, this represents to me a particular problem of logistics.
Yeah.
This is very proprietary fucking ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, good luck restocking this shit in the field if you have any kind of supply issues.
Yeah, it's probably made by one factory in probably overseas, honestly. Probably made one factory in Germany. It's going to just explode if we get into a war with anybody serious.
Red Aethel says, I've worked in DoD acquisition. Really basic stuff like temperature limits for equipment doesn't get paid attention to until field testing shows, oops, the desert is hot. Yeah, that sounds accurate to me.
I'm not surprised. It's the Army acquisition's ability to put the cart before the horse is really something. Well, I mean, they'll do stuff like develop equipment we don't have a doctrinal need for. Refuse to develop equipment we do have a doctrinal need for. Refuse to develop the doctrine at all, which is that's not acquisition's fault, but it's a problem with the Army.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that. It's a mess, and I think this whole program is kind of symptomatic of it.
That's a way to lay it out.
But I mean, honestly, I think this program should not go forward. I think it's pretty obvious this is not a good move in sort of light of what the future battlefield's going to look like. And the stupid thing is that they've made cartridges that pretty much fit what is needed, which is something that's actually between 7.62 NATO and 5.56, like 6mm AR, which isn't weird like 6.5 Grendel, and it's has good long range performance, good target, good barrier penetration, and it has the recoil of 7.62 by 39, which is we know that works because AKs were great. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, so Johnny Carroll has an interesting comment here. So have we watched the video by the Military Arms channel about the AK being obsolete because of the lack of optics and accessories? And that's like, I'll tell you what's happening is there's like there's a big psyop going on over Ukraine, just like trying to make the Russians out like they're not very good. And so you see all these like gun tube channels.
It's like Russian equipment is sufficient. Russia's biggest issue is a training issue.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd argue they don't even really have an issue. They're doing fine.
Well, I'm talking about like on the individual level. Yes, there are some training issues because they do rely a lot on conscripts, and there are limitations in their training. But that's about it. Their equipment is fine.
Yeah, and there is really something to be said for having a simple gun, and I mean, for having a simple gun that's going to work under all conditions, and this isn't just all climactic conditions, but like all light conditions, right? Because you have to fight at night.
Yep.
You have to fight using NVDs, and I mean, an AK with a red dot sight on it. Well, it may not be ideal if you're trying to shoot somebody at 600 meters, but you can use it under night vision devices, and you can use it at very close range, and it's going to be relatively light. And I mean, that's and yeah, and the whole weight factor is really something that that military establishments have never paid enough attention to. Which is that probably the most important factor out of anything you can do to make a combat rifle in the modern day is how much does the damn thing weigh?
Pittman says it's a different perception and battlefield approach. Unlike the U.S., Russia doesn't see a reason to have every single unit be special forces when the tours are short. Well, yeah. This obsession with Spec Ops operator shit is really fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it's like everybody wants to be SF, and also everybody also wants to be like gamer gun, two gun stuff.
Christ help me, I fucking hate that.
That's not even military. That's civilians rigging their guns that go through a course of fire as quickly as physically possible.
God help me.
And like, yes, that is a good way to see if like your stuff works, right? Or if you have a good setup and it's functional. But on the other hand, it's designed to do what it's designed to do, which is run through a short course of fire in a very canned environment.
Phoenix says the U.S. spent thousands of dollars to develop a pen that works in space. Russia spent a couple of rubles and bought a pencil.
Yeah, right.
Shit.
Yeah, and well, I mean, Pittman has a good point there, which is I mean, simple stuff won't pass because the arms industry can't make a profit; they can't justify the cost.
That is also accurate.
Yeah, which is, yeah. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of like patent hunting going on here, right? Which is like, okay, we could just make a different version of the AR-15, which is a great rifle, and update that some and issue it, but nobody can patent that, and nobody's going to be really making a profit off of it. And well, I mean, unfortunately, because I'll tell you what the issue is. It's that Army Ordnance doesn't have the institutional knowledge to like design stuff anymore. That all they do is contracting.
Oh God, yeah, fucking tell me about it.
So, well, if you're just contracting out to private industry to produce guns, well, they're going to produce guns they can patent and profit off of.
And like with the Springfield issue, that they can consistently have to sell you new rifles because parts can't be replaced.
Yeah. Whereas, I mean, military ordnance should be able to design anything the military needs and then get with private industry as far as producing it. And, or should be able to, go around the whole private industry sphere and consolidate everybody's patents and design one gun off of this stuff, which is actually how the MG34 happened.
And Pittman, you especially nailed it on that one.
Yeah.
Here he says, and using the same ammo as before would just mean that the arms contractor can't sell a patented special round that the Army has to buy to force them into a prolonged contract, which is exactly what the fuck we're looking at right here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the process that went into designing the MG34, which is a legendary machine gun.
Yeah.
The German Waffenamt at the time, they had to... That gun has patents from 3 different companies in it. Like, that gun could not have been produced using our current acquisition process in the United States, because our acquisition process would have been, well, we're going to put out a contract for a machine gun, and Mauser, DWM, and probably SIG would have submitted their stuff using their patents.
Yep.
Versus Army Ordnance being smart enough to put everybody's stuff together and design one better gun out of it.
Yeah, corporatism has definitely put a nasty dent in the development process.
Yeah.
SIG's Ferrari.
Yeah, right. I'm sure this is buying Ferraris for some SIG executives right now.
No fucking shit.
Anyways, Farv, you want to... We're about in an hour. I do have to get going here. You want to close out? We'll shill our stuff and promote.
Yeah,
our
okay.
Work. You go first. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I got a channel called Forvithian Guard. It's mostly a gaming channel, although occasionally we do talk about like real world shit during our game streams, and occasionally we do just conversation streams. Here, sooner or later, I'm probably going to get with this guy and a couple other people I know on my channel to discuss the first of my novels that just got released, which is called the Forvithia Chronicle. It's going to be a set of 2 to 3 books, depending on how the second book goes with the closing. But I will discuss that more at another date. But it is out on Amazon right now in hardcover. We are working on the ebook format. We have not finished it yet.
Yep. So, I was one of the test readers on it. It's an excellent book. And you should looks like the look inside feature is enabled now. So yeah, it's I'd say if you want a great fantasy read with freaking werewolves and centaur girls, go check it out. It's very well written. Farv's a great author.
I appreciate that. Let's talk about your book.
Yep. Here's my book. Yep, this is The Maiden's War, and I need to write 3 more chapters to finish up the sequel, Valkyrie Knight. So that's going to be coming out around Christmas. And actually, I have some of the artwork already commissioned for Valkyrie Knight. I don't have the cover done yet. I'm still waiting to hear back from my artist. So that's going to be seeing a lot more about Valkyrie Knight going forward. And it's this is you can see it's very well rated. It's got 4.5 stars, and people really like it. So
that's all I got, man.
Yeah, and I'd also say, everyone, if you're listening to me here, go sub to Farv's channel, because he does a lot of content. He streams a lot, and he needs subs. He does great stuff. It's like, listen to a 1920s gangster play video games. It's hilarious. This guy deserves to be the next Markiplier, and he needs some momentum on his channel there, so.
Oh my God! Don't drop that kind of pressure on my head.
Come on, you deserve 1 million subs, dude.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. It's been a little while because I've been trying to avoid stepping in that Ukraine shit.
Yeah, I understand. It's war's been going on for 3 months now. It's a bloody shit show, and I understand why you don't want to talk about that, because honestly, it gets old in a hurry. But not to, it's like, it's a whole thing. So, anyways, thanks everybody for coming in and hanging out. And this is the Armchair Warlord. I am signing out here.